Miller and Deace back here to talk another Big Ten topic. Steve, how about this notion thrown out by Jim Delaney that maybe the time has come to compensate athletes, college athletes, above and beyond what they're, I guess, earning with regards to scholarships, talking about stipends, things of that nature, and you have small conferences, schools from small conferences like the MAC that are freaked out about this, as they should be. My biggest, I haven't read every single thing that's come out about this. I don't know if Delaney's just talking football and basketball players, or if he's talking athletes across the board, because if he's not talking athletes across the board, I got 9 reasons why this ain't gonna fly, okay? And I'm talking Title IX.
I agree with that. I think that if you try to do this just simply based on who brings in revenue, you're going to find yourself in a federal court really quick.
Even though I would agree with bringing it in who goes on revenue.
You know, one of the things I've said for years, John, I think maybe the toughest job in American commerce is athletic director at a major university. And the reason why is because, one, you're managing people who, if they're your biggest earners, are making a lot more money than you, which creates, it's called the NBA. Trying to manage people making a lot more money than you isn't easy to do, number one. Number two, you have certain expectations placed upon you as any other manager or president of a private company would, in terms of success. And then you have to create the resources and infrastructure that will allow that success to either be implemented or to continue. And then third, you have the ivory tower academic aspect of it. That, right now if you're watching this and you're a business owner, the state may impose some restrictions on you, big government may put some restrictions and regulations on you, but nothing like what an athletic director has to face. When you as a business owner, could you be successful if you were told you couldn't make, even if you had the resources to make it happen and it was legal, that you couldn't make the personnel decisions that you needed to make in order to maximize your business? Could you be successful doing that? And the answer to that question is what, John?
No. Thanks for working me in.
Exactly, but that's what happens with an athletic director. So they've got to balance these 3 things. And Jim Delaney's about to walk headfirst right into that world. And yes, from a business plan standpoint, there is not a reason to pay anybody other than along the lines of what you're describing, other than football and most of the men's basketball programs, and maybe 10% of the women's basketball programs in the country, and I doubt any of the women's programs in the Big Ten. But from the reality of the ivory tower world that he is living in, you better be prepared to pay the softball team and the lacrosse team and the rowing team, because otherwise you're going to find yourself in a federal court in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it's not going to fly. It's not going to happen. Delaney's not dumb. Okay, we've read and listened to and seen him for years. We know he's not dumb. I've worked, face to face with him to where he about made me pee my pants before I went on live television last year in the Big Ten
Even with
Network.
The bad hair?
I didn't even notice the hair. I just focused on the eyes.
Because he'd be much more intimidating if he did something about that hair.
The stern gaze that he gave. Jim's no dummy. Okay, so he didn't just toss this out. Maybe it's a trial balloon.
Especially
because that can happen.
The Big Ten's leadership structure, we should mention it, the Big Ten is a president-run conference. Okay, I mean, it's not the athletic directors all get together and vote on stuff. The athletic directors are told by the presidents and the provost of the university how they'll be voting. So it's run by the academics first. And those are the people that Delaney is going to directly report to.
Speaking of that, let me steer this car off the road a little bit. People are used to us doing that. You're talking about the president-run Big Ten. What do you think the presidents thought a few weeks ago when Nebraska was booted out of the research institution community?
I don't think we should necessarily be surprised by that. If you look at their academic ratings coming in,
stands for knowledge.
Yeah, if you look at the academic ratings coming in, they were not very strong. They didn't fit a typical Big Ten.
But Delaney said last year that it was a factor.
Yeah.
Fast forward a year, Delaney says it wasn't a factor. Yeah, that's called spin, and spin cycle was on full tilt.
I think
if they were not a part of the research institution cluster last year, I don't think they would have been in the Big Ten.
I don't think they could have spun it without that happening up front. But now that they're in, I think that the damage is done, and they can say whatever they want to say.
They're not going to go back.
But let's be honest, that their affiliation with that was the rationale to do what the Big Ten really wanted to do, which was to get at least a 12th major name brand football power so that they could go toe to toe from a prestige and perception standpoint with the SEC.
And now we have the legends and leaders.
Yes.
And they still have not corrected that horrific mistake.
I think it would actually be a bad move for them to correct it now. I think if you were going to correct it, you do that the week or two, no more than 30 days after you make the mistake. But once new Coke's been on the market for a year or so, you kind of just got to live with it.
Not only that, but they looked like they were going to correct it.
Yes.
They said, okay, we're going to sit back. Maybe we rushed in. And I bet Mr. Delaney said, you know what? These people, and we'll throw a bleep in right there. Screw these people. I'm not changing. I'm freaking Jim Delaney.
I think if you change it
you
now,
roll the
you
way
look
I
dumb.
roll.
If you change it now, you look dumb, you look weak. I think you just roll with it now.
All right.
Because the pressure from how that all came down in the names, that's all forgotten now. Really, now we're at the point where we're 100 days away here from the start of the season. And this is really going to come down to the quality of the product on the field. And if the quality of the product on the field is good, I mean, it doesn't matter if you call your divisions Thing 1 and Thing 2. It doesn't matter.
Especially if the NFL is still on the sidelines.
No doubt about that.
You want to call your thing Division 1 or 2, go ahead. We'll see you next time.